Good morning, peace and blessings. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. And I'm back with another video. And as the title says, US launches new airstrikes on Iran. Is the ceasefire officially over? All right. It's been a minute since I touched on this subject on an update with the war between the United States and Iran and Israel, and I always like to wait until there are some substantial updates, because this commentary tends to get a bit redundant. But yes, as of today, Thursday, I believe it's the 11th of June. Um, we already know about the military operation that's going on at this point, and we know about the blockade and the ceasefire, and is they going to take a deal, and all of this stuff has been going on for at least the better part of 3 to 4 months now. Well, Trump has been the United States has been very, very patient on trying to negotiate a deal that would have Iran give over their nuclear enriched uranium so they could not create a, a nuclear weapon, a nuclear bomb. So we're trying to get that, and also we we're trying to make sure that they stop bombing our allies in that region, other countries that we have military relationships and bases in, and also to open up the Strait of Hormuz, because that also affects the world's economy on oil, and that's why gas prices have been elevated. But what I've noticed in the last few days in the chains of events that have been happening over in the Strait of Hormuz, it seems that the negotiations are stalling once again, but Trump is not as patient. His patience is running very thin. The ceasefire at this point is a joke, and the deal is questionable. Okay. So we have to understand that there's a lot of different other players in this war, right? So we got the United States, we got Iran, but we also have Iran and Israel, right? And so Israel is a partner in this military operation that we have against Iran. But Iran has different proxies that's set up all across that region. And one of the proxies is Hezbollah, right? You got the Houthis, but Hezbollah, I'm going to focus a little bit more on this situation, because when we negotiated a ceasefire between us and Iran, uh, Hezbollah and Israel were not a part of that ceasefire. Now, Hezbollah is an extension of Iran. They're located in the southern part of Lebanon, right? Now, Lebanon doesn't necessarily like the fact that Hezbollah is in their country, but Hezbollah has positioned themselves at a part in their country where they have been continuing to throw missiles back and forth with Israel, right? So they're not a part of the ceasefire. So Israel and Hezbollah have not stopped fighting. They are, still bombing and fighting each other, right? So we trying to negotiate a deal, a couple of weeks ago, and Israel and Hezbollah still going at it, and that's making tensions harder to come to a deal. So Iran is like, hey, if Israel keeps fighting Hezbollah, we're not going to come to the negotiating table. So there was some reports that Trump snapped on Bibi Netanyahu, which is the president of Israel, to get him to back off Hezbollah. You're like, man, what are you doing? You stupid. You messing up you know, the deal we trying to make. But see, Israel has a different perspective, because they're right there in that region, We all the way on the other side of the ocean, so they have to deal directly with Hezbollah for protection. A part of their country had to flee from that from their homes because of Hezbollah launching missiles over there. We don't have that issue in the United States. So Israel, like, hey, I know what you're saying, but hey, a deal may sound good to the United States, but hey, we over here under fire and we got to defend ourselves. So that's the issue right there that think that escalated the situation to where we are right now with Iran, right? So with Hezbollah and Iran going back and forth, once again, Hezbollah is in Lebanon. Lebanon been talking to Israel. They don't have no control over what Hezbollah is doing in their own country. You know what I'm saying? They pretty much took over that part of Lebanon. So Israel been trying to work with Lebanon to get Hezbollah out to no avail. So here we are. So what Iran did is they violated the ceasefire and they bombed Israel because of what Israel has been doing to Hezbollah. So Israel retaliated and bombed Israel directly, right? In that region. Iran was like, hey man, you keep bombing our homies over there. You keep bombing Hezbollah, even though Hezbollah been bombing them too. So Israel said, okay, ask Trump, hey, you see what they did? They violated the ceasefire. Give us the green light to retaliate. We got to defend ourselves. So Trump say, man, I don't want y'all to do it, but I can't tell y'all not to defend yourself. So Israel, a few days ago, I would say like a week ago, went over to Iran overnight and went crazy on Iran, right? They dropped all type of bombs on Iran directly, right? When they did that, Iran retaliated, and then they threw bombs instead of going back at Israel. They threw bombs at our other allies in that region, like Kuwait. They hit an airport over there. It seemed like they've been taking their frustrations out on Kuwait. So we got, a lot of military bases there. But most of their retaliation had been shot down. But they actually got one or two bombs to go through that hit civilian infrastructure, right? Which was an airport. So that was major because that's basically considered a war crime to hit civilian infrastructure during the war. But nobody ever gets prosecuted for war crimes, so that's neither here nor there. But what that did was, you know, sparked up. They still say technically it's a ceasefire, but that really violated the ceasefire because now the United States is involved because you're aiming at our military bases. Iran not only threw some bombs over there at Kuwait and other allies in the region that have our military bases, they also directly shot a drone into a U.S. Apache helicopter that was over there in Iran. So we got complete air domination. Our Air Force has complete air superiority over Iran, but they do still have drones and missiles where they can come pop, they can peek out and throw, drones and things that like at our jets and helicopters. So they actually hit a U.S. Apache helicopter in Iran, right? Now this is consequential because when they hit the Apache helicopter, the helicopter was over the sea. It was over some water, and that drone went in between both pilots, right? Both the pilots was sitting in the helicopter over some water when the drone hit the United States helicopter, right? But it didn't explode. It was right in between the two pilots. Smoldering heat, like the level of heat was crazy. So the only options that these pilots had was to fly that helicopter into the water to put out that fire, but it never exploded, right? So now the helicopter is in the water in the nighttime. It's dark outside. We did a rescue mission. The United States did a rescue mission where they had a drone. This has never been done on Earth. They had a boat that was a drone that went to rescue the two pilots out the sea. It took a couple hours, but they got them safely back, you know, out of that jam. The United States military, another rescue mission. If you remember, they did a mission like that about a month and a half ago when a jet or a couple jets was shot down by missiles or drones, and they had the guy climbed up a mountain and they rescued him, and they rescued the other one out the water. This time they rescued these two Apache helicopter pilots with a drone. So it wasn't a person driving this drone boat. It was it was remote control. This is incredible. So they got the two pilots, thank God, back to safety. Now, of course, the United States had to retaliate. So you shooting at our allies. You shot down one of our Apache helicopters. The United States responded by hitting 20 targets in the first wave of military operations. That was the day before yesterday. And then they did another 30 targets last night in Iran. This concentrated on infrastructure, like military infrastructure, where how they transport their bombs and things like that, their correspondence, knocking down some power wires that their military uses. So a massive response from the United States. Now, at the we're still actively in military, because if we doing that, I'm pretty much saying the ceasefire is dead. It's a joke. Now, after that first wave of 20 targets, Trump claimed he spoke to Iranian officials to get them back to the negotiation table, or he will continue to strike. He said, hey, man, now I'm trying to make a deal, but if you don't comply, we're going to continue to strike. Now, you done shot down our helicopter, throwing bombs and things of that nature at our allies. Get back to the negotiating table. Let's get this deal cracked. Now you got two different reports coming out of Iran saying that they will comply, some saying they won't. Well, and I've always already touched on this, that there are basically multiple leaders in Iran. You got the military leadership and you got the government leadership. And the military is radical. I think the government are more moderate. They want to try to come to a deal. But the problem is the more radical leadership, the IRGC, they got all the bombs and weapons, and it doesn't seem as though they on the same wavelength with the politicians. So that's why I'm assuming you have two different responses coming out of Iran. You got one saying that, hey, they called Trump like, hey, please stop bombing us, man. What's up, man? We trying to get a deal, and you got the other ones like, man, we ain't trying to make no deal. It's on. So you got that dynamic has to be, painted correctly, because that explains part of the reason why we haven't came to a deal yet. Oh snap, man! I got to get back to work. So let me try to wrap this up. So with that going on, you still got the blockade. You know, we still got that going on, right? So we still bombing them, but we still also uh crippling them economically with the blockade. They losing $500 million a day. But also Trump just revealed that since he started the blockade, this is a top secret. He just revealed the United States has stolen over 100 barrels of oil from Iran without them even knowing about it in the middle of the night. Over 100 barrels of oil. So what that means is the oil that Trump has been stealing from them while we had this operation going on is part of the reason why gas prices are they're not as astronomical as you would think they would be during the military, during the war. You know what I'm saying? So we've been sitting up there while they lacking. We've been stealing all their oil. Over 100 million barrels of oil have been stolen from Iran. So I think that probably ticked them off as well, of course, right? So Iran's strategy is to keep delaying, keep playing games, because they know the political pressure from the United States government is going to probably try to force Trump to stop this war on it, you know. And that's their strategy is to draw it out. And our strategy is to add more pressure economically and militarily until they comply and give up their enriched uranium and open up the Strait of Hormuz. But like I said, man, I'll probably do some more content on this later. I just wanted to come with this quick update. It's your boy Jay Taylor, Voices for the Voiceless. We love y'all. Until next time, we should see you soon. Peace and blessings.